Kalgoorlie Boulder in Western Australia is located 595 kilometres east-northeast of Perth and is located in the Eastern Goldfields. With its twin town Boulder, it has a population of 28,246, making it the largest urban centre in the Goldfields Esperance region and the fifth largest in Western Australia. The discovery of gold by Panny Hannon in 1893 led to one of Australia's great gold rushes and the founding of the town and the so-called Golden Mile. Within a few short years, the early alluvial prospecting and dry blowing had given way to mine shafts and full-scale underground mines, and hundreds of mining companies were floated to speculate on the rich reefs. Today, the Golden Mile is the famous super pit, one of the largest open-cut gold mining operations in the world. The open pit operation is currently 3 kilometres long, 1.4 kilometres wide and 370 metres deep. Coober Pedy is a town in northern South Australia, 846 kilometres north of Adelaide on the Stuart Highway. At the 2006 census, its population was 1,916. The town is known as the opal capital of the world because of the quantity of precious opals that are mined there. The name Coober Pedy comes from the local Aboriginal term Coober Pedy, which means boy's waterhole. Coober Pedy is probably best known for its unique style of underground living. A standard 3-bedroom cave home with lounge, kitchen and bathroom can be excavated out of the rock in the hillside for a similar price to a house on the surface. It remains at a constant temperature, whereas surface living needs air conditioning, especially during the summer months, when temperatures often exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Both the town and its hinterland, for different reasons, are very photogenic and have therefore attracted filmmakers. The town itself was the setting for the 2005 film Opal Dream. The hinterland, notably the breakaways and Moonplane, have featured as backdrops in films including Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Red Planet, Priscilla Queen of the Desert, Pitch Black and Salute of the Jugger, which made considerable use of locals as extras. Our plan is to drive from Kalgoorlie to Coober Pedy, utilising the Trans-Australian Railway access road to Rawlinna, the Connie Sue Highway to Neale Junction, and then across the Great Victoria Desert via the Anne Beadell Hwy to Coober Pedy. The road to Rawlinna, and it's pretty in the hospitable country out here, and when something goes wrong it can go horribly wrong. No RAC out this place. This is the railway line at Karonie. And as you can see, it's got a bypass line. And that's heading back towards Kalgoorlie. We're following up on an old railway line along Karonie. As you can see, it hasn't been used for a while. Trees growing in the middle of it. Apparently there's a government dam up here, so we're just going in to have a look to see what's in there. Karonie Dam is situated at Cardunia Rocks, 5 kilometres northeast of the Karonie siding. This is a water catchment built to supply water for the railways. This dam up in the rocks feeds another below-ground dam via a below-ground stone-lined aqueduct or channel with an old timber bridge across it. Because we were told about this dam by a fellow traveller in Kalgoorlie, we didn't know what we were looking for and thus missed seeing the below-ground dam. Stone diversion walls all around the rocks direct water into the dams. The abandoned rail line into the area was apparently used to transport rail ballast sourced from here. There was an old crushing plant set up there years ago. The whole establishment was built by Italian POWs during the war. The remains of the old POW camp can be found in the area. Okay, we're just near Xanthus and major intersection on the road. And it tells us that the road going to the right is down to Balladonia, down on the Air Highway. It's 170 k away. Okay, it's camp on the first night. A lot of wind, been very windy, and so to overcome this little problem, a bit of ingenuity is required. A tarp rigged up between the two vehicles at the back, acts as a windbreak, and everyone sits around the table for dinner tonight. It's 8:30 in the morning, and the morning express is running through on the Trans-Australia line. This is about 50 kilometres further down the line from where we camped last night, and as you can see, total change in countryside. That's the railway line just over there. But we've reached the western fringe of the Nullarbor Plain, and so we'd stop and do a little photo shoot. This is the township of Rawlinna at the southern end of the Connie Sue Highway, and there's only a couple of people live out here, but how about this? The Nullarbor Muster Club, Gymkhana grounds down the road, and the next event 18th to 20th of April 2008. Well, that one's gone, but they come from everywhere for these events. Here's the major sign indicating where we are. Rawlinna is a remote locality and railway siding on the Trans-Australia Railway in Western Australia and is 910 kilometres east of Perth. The Great Southern Railway train, the Indian Pacific, which runs between Sydney and Perth, calls at the siding twice a week in each direction. Rawlinna is also the site of a small lime mine in which the lime is extracted from the limestone that is prevalent in the area. The lime is mostly used in the gold production process in Kalgoorlie. More importantly for us, Rawlinna was also the start of the Connie Sue Highway, an outback track that leads to Laverton and meets the Anne Beadell Highway at Neale Junction. There is no fuel for sale at Rawlinna. The closest locations are Coober and Coober Pedy on the Air Highway, more than 100 kilometres to the south. We won't see a fuel pump until we get to Ilkurlka, some 500 kilometres away. According to our route maps, this is the gate we need to go through to start the Connie Sue Highway trip. It looks as though we're travelling across mining land, so it's going to be interesting to see whether we get back here in a short while or whether we wind up at our destination at Skylab Well. This first bit of road takes us to Skylab Well. It's sort of cross like when we came through the gate, it's like we're crossing a paddock. There are wheel tracks ahead of us, so we're hoping we're on the right track. Our first port of call on the trip is the Skylab Well. We've got a pretty good light. Using a seatbelt lock to unlock the gate. And this is where the choice needs to be made. It's a paddock. We're through the gate. Where do we go? It does say up past an old car body. That's up ahead of us. Over there. And the GPS is pointing that direction as well. That's the way we go. Very stony through here. The first of our car bodies on this particular trip. See big birds? The cows are still on the run. is the road that's mapped out for us. As you can see, there's not a lot to follow, just the basic wheel tracks and lots of rock and stone and stuff to climb over. This will of course all change. It's pretty desolate country here, but turn around the full 180 degrees and water and a tower with water pouring out of the top of it. This is pretty much the last thing you'd expect to see out here. The countryside's starting to change. There's noticeably more vegetation now than what there was before, but the road is still very rocky. A lot of real sharp stones you've got to be real careful of, so that you don't damage tyre walls or tread as you pick your way down the track. We're approaching Premier Downs station Turnoff. The station apparently is abandoned, and we are considering having a look, and if we can, go in and see if there's anything there still. Now the countryside's opened out again, and we're coming up to the turn-off to the abandoned Premier Downs station, and we're going to head out there and see what's out there. Approaching some buildings and a windmill, and we assume that this is probably Premier Downs Station, abandoned. Doesn't look too grand at me. So this is the remains of Premier Downs Station, or the homestead at least. There are no filling stations out in the outback, and when you're doing long distances you need to carry your own fuel. In this case, Riggsy is carrying his in a tank out of a motorboat on the roof and is siphoning his extra into his tank so that he can complete the next part of the journey to Ilkurlka Roadhouse. Brett's on the phone to Barbara.
Are you sure you haven't got a cold? You sound completely different on this phone. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, good, okay. Yeah. It's just been really slow going, a lot of very rocky roads and that sort of stuff. So.
Oh, is it frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
fantastic. Oh, brilliant.
6:15, day 2, day 3 of the trek, and it's all quiet on the Connie Sue Highway. It was a bit chilly last night, hence the layer of ice on top of the stove there. This is the road we've been travelling down, and we have a road coming in from the right hand side, and this is what it looks like. It's a major sweeping bend going up this way. Road improves, how long for? Now that's the interesting part, of course. Still the Connie Sue Highway. Obviously there's been some fairly heavy rain through here recently, and we're fortunate that we're probably a week or two behind it. But it's obviously gets very messy when it gets wet. Well, this is the country that Ernest Giles apparently crossed in 1875 when he travelled from east to west, and supposedly he crossed at about this point. This is the sort of country he was travelling through at that time. Just a little bit of Australian history. Which road do we go? Left or right?
Or left, I think.
Well, we're on the genuine Connie Sue at this point in time, and it doesn't get used all that often, but we've been hooking along between 80 and 90 kilometres an hour now for about the last 15-20 minutes or so.
A bit of a turn in the left in a few minutes.
Not too many corners on Anne Beadell roads, and
The sea wouldn't have a problem on this.
so this bend is taking us now into a different direction for a while. Still a straight stretch of road for a while though. Okay, the Connie Sue is certainly now back to what we probably expected more of. Lots of little rocky sort of outcrops across the road, but we're still drifting along at a good 60k. Not a bad bit of road at the moment. We're making pretty good time though for the day. There's a lot of sandhills across the running across the track. This is one of them. This one's only a small one, unless you're coming from the other way, of course. We'll be crossing those all the way from now on in, probably. And then all the rocks and stones disappear and the road's just sand again, and again we're back to an 80-90 kilometre an hour road. Ever changing. Yes, real
Very Australian trial stuff.
Connie Sue Highway negotiating sandhills as we approach Neale Junction, and it's really sandy. There's another sandhill just over to the side. Through this particular part of the highway, the sandhills just keep rolling on. We're within about 5 or 6 kilometres of Neale Junction, and this is the sort of stuff that I've been expecting for most of the track, but it's only happening in the last bit of it. Well, for a fair percentage of the track, not for most of it. This is the last few hundred metres of our trip into Neale Junction, and here it is as we arrive, and this completes for us the complete Connie Sue Highway expedition or experience, if you like. Neale Junction is situated where the Connie Sue Highway and Anne Beadell Highways intersect in the Great Victoria Desert. Sand dunes, named the Neale Breakaways, run generally north-south along the Rawlinna Laverton track and extend for approximately 75 kilometres. The name Neale Breakaways was recorded on Commander Harry Bennett's exploration plan in 1935, and the feature was named after Commander RFC Neale, the pilot who flew the Mackay Aerial Reconnaissance Survey expedition in that year. So it appears that Anne Beadell simply named the junction using the map, showing the name of the surrounding breakaways. Okay, this is what we came here for. This is the Anne Beadell Highway. We've just left Neale Junction, which I didn't reset my thingo for, but we're now heading east. There's already been 3 people through here so far today. One of them heading in the same direction as us, so I doubt we'll overtake them. And we're about 17k out of Neale Junction. We've already met some people going the other way and had a bit of a chat with them as to what lies ahead. This is the sort of country that we're in at the current time, and the track is very sandy. A little bit of a washout through here. And a tourist in the middle of the road with a bloody camera. Well, that's the Anne Beadell Highway coming in there, and this is an airstrip crossing the Anne Beadell Highway. Now whether it's still used or not is another thing. I don't know that it is, but we'll go and have a look at that. I don't know which is the actual airstrip. I think it's what I came up because it does run beyond. Where I turned around and started going back is about 500 metres, maybe 600-700 metres. Most airstrips are generally a couple of kilometres long. And there's that post halfway down the strip, so rather interesting, but certainly not down the middle. Our first pedestrians for the trip.
Yarking.
There they go, and
Bellowing as they go.
yeah, well, they run along the road or they get off the road. Well, it's just gone 6 o'clock and it's now Wednesday morning, 2nd of July 2008. We're about to start stirring and get the next day happening. Well, you do see people who actually bring caravans out on these roads. This is what is likely to happen to it. Now this one I think is actually a government caravan, but for all that, why would you bring one out here?
I'll stand at the door then.
First sandhill that we've had to negotiate. This is pretty inhospitable country. This is not the sort of country you'd want to bring a plane down in, but it's what happened. Plenty of sandhills you've got to sort of get over the top of. Hoping there's no one coming the other way as you do it. Someone went a bit quick over the hill there.
Those wheel tracks, you better stop in a hurry.
This really is a very, very terrible sort of country. And as we come up to it, right in front of us, the wreckage of one aircraft. The plane wrecked was from a Goldfields Air Services flight that crashed on the 28th of January 1993, 305 kilometres north of Forest. According to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, the occurrence brief states that both engines stopped operating during cruise flight. The pilot carried out a forced landing in unsuitable terrain, there was adequate fuel on board for the flight, and the pilot reported a problem with the fuel selector's pumps. According to the Bureau, all 4 persons on board sustained serious injuries. The plane was en route from Laverton to Kalgoorlie. Bill Baker found the wreckage in 1995 after receiving the exact position from the pilot who had survived. He had made a good emergency landing coming in at right angles to the sand dunes, only 200 to 400 metres apart. Bill decided to put up a sign encouraging travellers to detour 8.7 kilometres and cross the 19 sandhills to view it. Unfortunately, the plane has been vandalised by these invited travellers. There is a visitor's book in the storage compartment in the wing. VH Fizz.
Yeah, it just got there. Only just.
But it didn't bog down, it kept going.
Just bogged down, that's what I was trying to say there, viewers.
Yeah, the interesting thing about something like the Anne Beadell Highway is the fact that it's obviously been recognised that there's a lot of people like to do the particular trip, and so this campsite has been set up. There's not a lot of them along the way, we understand, but this one's here, complete with toilets, the whole deal. Within the campsite there are a few different little roads running here and there just in case 2 or 3 lots of campers all arrive at the same time. A bit unlikely, but it is possible to camp with other people at this particular spot. Most places along the road where you find somewhere to camp, you're on your own basically. You don't want to camp with other people generally. Here we were trundling along, minding your own business. We come across a slow down sign which is right on top of a crossroads. We're in the middle of the crossroads before we'd sort of realised where we were. And to the right is the Ilkurlka Roadhouse. We've done 950k since we left Kalgoorlie, so we need to refuel. And this is the only place you can refuel between where we've come from and Coober Pedy, which is still 900 odd k away. The pump is, of course, modern, state-of-the-art technology, and you can be guaranteed that the weights and measures boys are through to make sure that it's accurate at least once a week. The roadhouse was built in 2003. That's when the keys were handed over, and it caters for everything. And to the left of our yellow slow down sign is a little park away to one side, little stay if you like. Campsite. Comes with shower, toilets, and somewhere where you can sit down and eat your food. Showers are a couple of bucks each. We're just a few k out of Ilkurlka Roadhouse, heading east. Apparently this is an absolute dream road. Once we get to South Australia, I believe the potholes are about 4.5 feet deep and about 3 feet wide, so it's going to be an interesting trip. This is the countryside we're going through just at the moment. It varies all the time. We're in sandhill country at the moment. We've just been going on with the sandhills now for the last couple of minutes. The soil is really red.
They've been skipping along fairly well for a while now, at around about 70 to 80 kilometres an hour, and then all of a sudden we're into the sandhill stuff, and it's a little more interesting to drive on. Sandhills just keep rolling along here. Great country though. The sandhill across to the side of us here. Now we're running along the bottom of the sandhill again. We've just gone 3 o'clock and we're still following through sandhills on either side of us and the road running through the middle. A bit firmer at the moment, but it has been fairly soft at times. We're just trying to see how far we can get this afternoon. Now this is 3 o'clock Western time. It's probably closer to 4:15 Central Time, something like that. Local, that is. So we need to be looking at a camping spot earlier than what we have been doing, because obviously we're getting further away from the sun in the afternoons, or closer to it in the mornings, whichever way you want to put it. Well, there's obviously been a fire through here sometime in the recent past. Started to do a bit of regrowth, but of course there's no cover either at this point in time. It's now starting to get on a little bit. It's 20 past 3 nearly, and we're now starting to look for somewhere to camp for the night. Imagine how thick this would be if the trees had coverage. And this is camp on day 4. Day 5, it's Thursday morning, and we're now somewhere around about 55k, we think. Is that where it is, from the border?
Yep, something like that.
And just a sand track at this point in time. Well, it's all been sand, but not really. It doesn't look as red, but then again, maybe because we're looking into the sun.
No, it's not red.
And a bit of a fire through here as well. I've just spoken to our first group of travellers travelling in the other direction for the day. They're coming from east to west, obviously, because we've run into them, but yeah, telling us of some of the things we can look forward to further ahead. We'll come across that as time happens. We've just passed Camp 4, and straight away we're into close bush country, so we're going to, the aerial's going to take a bit of a pounding through here, I think, as is the side door by the sound of things, as Brett closes it.
I was going to jump out. I
didn't think he was in the vehicle. Another trailer that didn't make it out here on these roughish sort of tracks. We've now just passed into South Australia. This is officially the WA South Australian border, as placed, and this marker is placed by Anne Beadell in April 1962. And as with most of Anne Beadell's markings, there is also a visitor's book. You're also now entering into the Unnamed Conservation Park. which is South Australia. Just a sign telling us the conservation park's been set aside to preserve native animals and plants. The fact that the plants and animals are protected, and dogs and cats are natural enemies of our native fauna, they're not permitted in the park, and other bits and pieces. We're about to now travel on, and Vokes Corner is our next major objective. This is Serpentine Lake. Interesting what you see in trees on the side of the road. We'd knock it down and have a look, but this is a conservation park and we're not allowed to.
It's probably a hornet.
We're definitely into a real track there now. Up until now it's been pretty much a major road by comparison to this, but this is pretty much what I guess what we expected to find when we first started this trek. There. Hey, here he goes. There he goes. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We're some 55 kilometres inside the South Australian border at this point in time. We've just been dealing with some of the worst corrugated road we've come across so far this trip. I understand there's a heck of a lot more to come, but we've already broken the phone mounting for the mobile phone. It's just rattled itself to pieces, so it's certainly quite roughish. Other than that, it's quite a pleasant afternoon's drive. Well, it's 10 minutes to 5 and we're at 20k from Vokes Hill Corner. We just had a little bit of drama in that Rigsy lost a bolt on the shock absorber and has had to remove the shock absorber from the rear of the vehicle. So it's going to be a nice place to drive from here on in for a while. And while he's parked in the middle of the road repairing that, who should come along but the first person we've seen all day travelling in the other direction, certainly since the border, and yeah, an elderly gentleman and his wife are travelling westwards. So of course they needed to sit and wait for a while the vehicle was, Riggsy's vehicle was removed from the track. We don't know how far Glenn will go now. It's until we camp tonight. The idea was to try and get to Vokes Hill Corner, but he may quit before that, depending on how quick he can travel at this point in time. Well, it's late afternoon, day 5, Thursday. We're about 3 kilometres out of Vokes Hill Corner, which is our hoped for campsite for the night. Here we are. Another wind marker. It's Friday morning, day 6. Bit of cloud overnight. A couple of drops of rain, but our first opportunity may be to get a decent sunrise. This is the campsite. Found it last night. It's right on the edge of the road. It's about 1 kilometre from Vokes Hill Corner. The sky behind us is rather interesting. Blew up from that direction last night. It is from the west, of course. It'll be interesting to see what today holds for us. Okay, this is Vokes Hill Corner. We arrived here late yesterday afternoon. It's the Anne Beadell Highway coming in from the west. There are some people camped over in the trees just over there. It's a road heading south. And this is Riggsy coming back to the corner from our campsite, which was about 1.5 kilometres down the road along the Anne Beadell Highway. Okay, one of the few travellers that we met along the way.
Hey?
Signing the book.
I'm a day behind now.
Yesterday we were filming in the trees at this thing that we saw in the tree, and we were wondering what it was, whether it was a wasp's nest or whatever it is. Here's one up close. Looks as though it's full of dirt, so it could be a wasp's nest or something like that. Rather interesting. Here's one that's actually broken off. We've also just lowered the tyre pressures by about 8 pounds a square inch all round, and we're hoping this is going to give us a much better dampening effect give the suspension a bit of an easier time for today's travel. We're about 12k out of Vokes Hill Corner, just easing our way down the side of a sand hill here. Warning, we're entering at Maralinga Land. Entry without a permit is illegal. The road is not open to the public. We have our permit, so we're able to go. Well, now that we're in the Maralinga Park, or in the Maralinga part of the park, the road's been graded. There was a road off to the side just back up there which possibly went to the community, but this road is now certainly a graded road. This is pretty isolated country, and when you do meet other people, you sort of stop and have a chat with them and try and find out a little bit about the conditions, but you do end up having a bit of a natter about where people come from and that sort of thing as well. So the moment we've got 3 convoys all in one. Now the surrounding countryside seems to have lost a lot of its taller vegetation, although we're coming into another grove of trees now. Just winding our way through some sand hills here at the moment. This road's really winding around here at the moment. We're now entering the Commonwealth of Australia land. This is part of the Woomera division. It's a prohibited area and you're not allowed in there unless you've got a permit, which we have. That's the Anne Beadell Highway coming into Anne's Corner. Road heading off up that way, and that's the marker for Anne's Corner, and the highway travels on that way towards Emu. Anne's Corner was founded by Anne Beadell in 1956. All of a sudden it's like the freeway here, there's traffic everywhere. It's amazing today we have seen heaps of traffic. Haven't we?
Yeah.
We have.
He's going to lose his flag after Vokes Corner.
All of a sudden, looks like we're in a paddock. It's just changeable. And we're on a limestone base. Now whether it's been brought in or not, I don't know, but it's certainly there. I think someone's brought it in to fix up some of the potholes somehow. Within about 200 metres, complete change of scenery.
That was.
Approaching Emu on a fairly rough little road at the moment. Okay, we've come to a sign which says no cert through road, but an even more important sign, one that tells us Coober Pedy's this way, Vokes Hill is where we've just come from. Don't see many signposts out here. This is the Emu Airstrip, centre of operations for the atomic bomb testing that took place back in the early 50s. This is what much of the area is around here. This is a mud pan or a clay pan, and here it's wet, it's damp. Well, it's damp and it's sort of broken up, obviously. This is the airstrip at Emu in the middle of Australia. This is where all the personnel used to land and take off from, and it is still in perfect condition. You could land a Cessna on this with no problems whatsoever. Probably something a fair bit bigger, lots more. Now we're assuming that this high-tech piece of gear here is where the windsock was. Is this a windsock? Well, a variation of. We're just approaching the turnoff now to Totem 1, where the first of the 2 atomic bombs that were exploded in this area happened way back. The first explosion took place in 1953.
When you come to a crossroads, Captain, turn left.
Hey, talking about the colour in the grey, Andy.
No camping or fires in here. Well, this is Totem 1. The first sign you see is warning, radiation hazard. Radiation levels for a few hundred metres around this point may be above those considered safe for permanent occupation.
Operation Totem was a two-shot atmospheric nuclear testing series conducted by Great Britain in Australia during the spring of 1953. Totem was the first weapons development series conducted by Great Britain. In December 1952, William Penny obtained ministerial approval for 2 nuclear tests. Since it was expected to fire the test in October 1953, less than a year was allowed for planning and preparation for Totem, including the search for a new test site. For many strategic reasons, it was decided to conduct Totem within the mainland of Australia. Australian explorer Anne Beadell was assigned the task of finding and surveying a location for the Totem trials. Emu Field in the Great Victoria Desert of South Australia was chosen for the trials. The 2 explosions took place on 15th of October and 27th of October 1953. All that remains are melted metal and miles of camera cables lying alongside the roads leading to the test site.
1.58 kilometres further towards the south is Ground Zero Totem 2. That's where we're heading now. One and a half kilometres away they blew the second bomb on the 27th of October 1953. The area around the place is very, very flat. Now we have no idea as to what it looked like before, obviously. Apparently all the vegetation got well and truly obliterated. 55 years further on, this is what it looks like.
Several camera towers with darkroom facilities were constructed to film the explosions from different angles. Each tower contained dozens of cameras and were designed to give a 3-way intersecting view of the explosion. Many miles of cable used for the connection of the cable towers to the firing station remain alongside the access roads.
Well, as can be seen, we're now well and truly out of the sandhill area, and the track is like an ironstone sort of gravel, something similar to what we encountered in the first part of the Connie Sue Highway. And the corrugations are pretty ordinary. We're travelling at 20k, which is about as slow as you can travel. Right, so we were out of the sandhills, and bang, we're back again. And it is a sand track. And yep, plenty of corrugations in this one too. We're just drifting on at this point in time, trying to get as many miles under our belt as we can, because we're way behind where we thought we might be. Not that that matters, of course, but we'll look for a camp sometime within the next half hour. Day 7. This is our day 6 campsite. Just on the side of the Anne Beadell Highway, short of Maple Down Station. We're was an interesting night. Spits of rain all night long. Jump out, the tent's dry because there's a breeze blowing. And Brett stuck his head out the tent at one point in time to eyeball a camel wandering around the camp. And there's a spectacular sunrise out here this morning. Sky looks just a glow over there. Saturday the 5th of July, we're just departing camp and we're heading for Coober Pedy. You can see how the trees are growing up right up against the track, and normally they would overgrow the track and would make it difficult to get through, but the fact that the trees are shaved virtually vertical along the length of the track just indicates how much traffic actually does use this road. It really is one of the popular four-wheel drive treks across Australia. We've been looking for a corner, well, we're coming up to a corner, and there it is, no road to seismic line. EQ only, South Australia Department of Mines, 1974. Interesting little object just up here on the side of the hill. In actual fact, it's a triangulation station from the Australian Survey Corps, Department of Defence.
Is that Slim?
And then just down the hill from it, another marker saying RM2 with a white post. We're currently in the Talleringa National Park and we're approaching Talleringa Well, which has been our major objective for this morning, or our first major objective. The road's been extremely rough and we've been taking it real steady. It took us 2 hours to do the first 58 kilometres this morning. Mind you, we did stop in that time and have a look at that beacon on the hill, but still pretty slow time for the distance travelled. Sign pointing the other way, telling us that where we've just come from is Emu. This is Talleringa Well. The area looks fairly nondescript. It's normal, sort of countryside for here. And then get these few trees, and then a real bunch of them all at once. It's in there that the well is located. And there's the well with some protective covering so people don't fall down it. Got much water in it. No idea of how much the corrugations can do. Our associate here has actually gaffer taped his headlights on just to make sure they don't fall off. His driving lights, that is. This is the quality of the road that we're driving along at the moment. Really deep and wide corrugations, it's really bad. So all along the track there are these little diversions that are made by people that thought, to heck with it, we're going to drive around that, we're not going to drive along it. And so we wind up heading around these diversion tracks. Unfortunately, there's not enough of them. But that's the way it works. And then back onto these shocking corrugations again. Who in their right mind to come out here?
We went to start going down there and then it said, go back for GPS or something.
This is the dog fence, and this gate is got to be kept closed all the times by order of the South Australian Dog Fence Board. And it's here, no public thoroughfare, fence maintenance track only. This track goes back to the Anne Beadell Highway, which is 3 kilometres back down the road. Why they didn't put the gate in the fence down there, who knows? But still, this way I suppose they're definitely making sure people shut it. Just on the other side of the fence, I hope you've done a 6 kilometre run, and there's a little sign telling you that Maple Creek Station is this way, 48 kilometres. As we're getting closer to Coober Pedy now, it's, the countryside has definitely changed. Sandhills seem to have definitely gone, and the road is certainly more stony and rocky. And the countryside's pretty flat. We are definitely into station country. It's our first grid that we're going to come over. We'll probably have to deal with more of these before we're finished. And it's well and truly up in the air, that's for sure. Maybe this country gets underwater a fair bit when it rains. Certainly looks like it does. This is Maple Creek Station, and pretty reasonable sort of road through here at the moment. We're within almost 60 kilometres of Coober Pedy at this point in time. Countryside very flat. Station property, and we have gates to open and close as we go through. The other guys went through first, they opened it, and we're closing it. We're actually driving across one of the paddocks, I suppose you could call it. The road diverts through here to go to Coober Pedy. We're certainly off the Anne Beadell Highway, according to the map anyway.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for that.
Well, we're now officially at the end of the Anne Beadell Highway, and it's been a pretty rough road. It's upshot. Thoroughly enjoyed the trip, but we've done it. 4 of us, an 83 series, a 1983 60 series landcruiser, and a 1999 100 series landcruiser. It says no habitation or services for the next 1,300 kilometres. That's not quite correct. There is fuel at Ilkurlka Roadhouse, which is some 700 odd K along the road. Now we travelled along the trans line, and the only place we saw trains was from the side and from afar. We're standing alongside the GAN line, and blow me down if there isn't a train coming. This is the countryside now, approaching Coober Pedy. Dead flat. Now, this is the sort of country that, in my mind's eye, I thought probably we might be seeing a bit of out in the desert areas. This is still desert, of course, but certainly different to where we've been. This is the country that Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, was filmed in, and a number of other movies. Now, the mining areas are starting to appear. The mounds and the shafts. This is Opal country. We passed a sign just back down the road which tells us danger, deep shafts. Now this is part of an Opal operation just here. Most of this stuff is probably no longer used, it's probably abandoned. Very old machinery. A few old trucks over there, just abandoned. We've been on the gravel and dirt now for over 1,700 kilometres. This is our first taste of bitumen. In that time, this is the Stewart Highway. Runs between Adelaide and Darwin.
First look at bitumen since Kalgoorlie. Stewart Highway, named after the Scotsman John McDowell Stewart, one of Australia's great explorers. Runs from Adelaide to Darwin.
So this 5k and the first part of our journey is complete. This is a tin of Campbell's Chunky Soup. As you can see, it uses a ring top type pull lid. You can see by the size of the can that it's had a fairly rugged time in the back of the vehicle with the amount of movement against the other items in the food box. This is a tin of stock pot. It's supposed to have a ring top lid as well. The lid's still there, but it's under the top layer of soup. It's collapsed under the goods that are on top of it on those roads. That's how rough they were. I've never seen that before.